On Live with breaking news at 7 p.m. Eastern, President-elect Donald Trump is at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. His latest cabinet pick makes it abundantly clear he is dead set on continuing, as we have told you for the past couple of weeks, to burn the House down. That's what his supporters want. It's 1 a.m. in Luanda, Angola, where President Biden is about to start day 2 of his overseas visit to Africa. So far, he has dodged any question about his sweeping pardon for his son, Hunter. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend with friends and family. And with that, we welcome you to the Ferris Network on television. And first tonight, burning the House down ×2. President Biden and President-elect Trump both keep making decisions that risk destroying everything that makes America special. Last night, Biden pardoned his son, Hunter, not just for buying a gun as a drug addict and lying about it, not just for not paying his taxes, but for any crime going back to 2014. And I am sure it is a coincidence, but 2014 is when Hunter Biden went on the board of a Ukrainian energy company. Why did he go on the board of a Ukrainian energy company? Not because of any great understanding of the oil and gas business. Hunter went on the board because his dad was vice president of the United States at the time. Put all that aside for a second. It stinks, it reeks, it's terrible. Let's think about something more important. Let's think about America, not Hunter. The world's most powerful man, the president of the United States, just raised the YOLO ante. That's not a good thing for America. For our older viewers, my parents included, YOLO is what the cool kids say. Stands for you only live once, an excuse to do anything, no matter how reckless and no matter how damaging. The sweeping pardon comes after years of the left-leaning media, the White House press secretary, and even President Biden himself saying it would never happen.
I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that. And I will not pardon him.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
That last clip, in case you couldn't tell, came at Normandy. Omaha Beach. Joe Biden promised that, standing next to the graves of those who died to save America, to save the idea of America, to save freedom. This is not just about Joe Biden. Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden keep destroying more of what makes America different than the rest of the world. And forgive the expression, but they are destroying what actually makes America great. The pardon is just the latest move in a long list of actions. Obama once said he had a pen and a telephone to get around Congress. Trump tried to overturn the 2020 election. Biden's Justice Department prosecuted Trump. Other Democratic prosecutors tried to find laws to prosecute Donald Trump, to get Donald Trump. It's about as un-American as you get. Trump now says he plans to fire the FBI director and place him with one of his key loyalists, Kash Patel. And of course, Biden's pardon of his son for crimes dating back to 2014. All things that we never thought we would see in America. One by one, each of these men keep tearing down the fabric that holds us all together, the agreement we all make that makes America exceptional. And in the process, they're fundamentally changing every single thing that makes America the shining city upon the hill. We keep going down that road. America keeps getting less special with each one of these actions. And it's a long time until January 20th. Trump's nominee for FBI director is just another example. And former Trump administration officials like John Bolton are livid. He compared Patel to the Soviet Union's most feared secret police chief. In a statement that reads in part, Bolton said, Trump has nominated Kash Patel to be his Lavrente Beria. Fortunately, the FBI is not the NKVD. The Senate should reject his nomination 100-1. Beria is the man who famously said, show me the man and I will find you the crime. In America, presidents aren't supposed to go after their political opponents. Certainly not supposed to use the Justice Department to do it, although Joe Biden did. But Patel will do whatever the president-elect wants. He said that. including going after political opponents. In fact, Patel and others in his orbit have promised that over the past year.
We're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you.
These criminals that have been hijacking the government that commit these crimes, just like the Nazis, they have to learn they're not above the law. Nuremberg too.
What you have done to this country, what you've done to the citizens of this country, and yes, you will pay a price for that. You will pay a price for that. It's called justice, rough Roman justice.
The famous author Ernest Hemingway once said he went broke gradually and then very quickly. The destruction of America's institutions started slowly, and now it's happening very quickly. That's not good for America. We begin tonight with Bill O'Reilly, host of the No Spin News, BillO'Reilly.com, and author of the best-selling book, Confronting the President's No Spin Assessments from Washington to Biden. It makes a great Christmas present. We replayed our special of the two of us that was well rated on Confronting the President. Bill, it's good to see you. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. Tell me this if I'm on to something. You've got one president pardoning family members. You got another president firing the head of the FBI and appointing his cronies. That feels like Romania or Italy. That's not the United States of America. We're losing what makes us special.
You're just so naive. I mean, it's almost endearing. And by the way, I find myself. I say, by the way, and I find myself. I give it to charity. President Trump watched the special on Thanksgiving night and texted me about it. So on another occasion, I'll tell you what he said. Anyway,
back to how I'm so naive.
America's always been like this. Yeah, you are. America's always been like this. In 2001. Bill Clinton, the president of the United States, just before he walked out the door, pardoned his half-brother, Roger Clinton. Okay? You may remember that. So Roger Clinton was just like, almost identical to Hunter Biden. A grifter, a drug addict, con man, and walking out the door, Bill Clinton pardoned Roger Clinton, his half-brother. Do you know that? People know that? They don't know. They don't remember. This has always been the case in this country. It has always been power does what it wants to do. Now I'll tell you how this pardon actually happened, because you will not get this anywhere else. Here's what happened. From the beginning, Hunter Biden knew his father would pardon him, because Abby Lowell, his attorney, was told that in a roundabout way, nothing in writing. That's why Abby Lowell convinced Weiss, the special prosecutor in Delaware, to put forth to the judge a ridiculous plea agreement that nobody would have ever taken. It was absurd. They took a shot because they knew, even though they were going to be turned down, that eventually the father would pardon the son. Now, before the election, Biden could not do that. But they assumed Kamala Harris would win. And Kamala Harris agreed to pardon Hunter Biden. And that's what happened, and it all shattered 4 weeks ago when Trump won. So now Biden went to Nantucket to be with his family, and the family said, you got to pardon Hunter. Joe Biden at this point in his life is not able to stand up to anything. He doesn't remember that he said he wouldn't do it. He doesn't remember. So he did it, and now everybody's running around making a big deal out of it. It's not a big deal. Okay. If I were Joe Biden, I would have pardoned my son. All right? When you have a son, you would pardon your son. But here's the big story. This is all part of the Biden family grift. They're grifters. All right? Joe Biden, the vice president of the United States, used his office to enrich his son and his brother. It's beyond any reasonable doubt. The fact that the Republican committees in investigating couldn't get that is embarrassing. But here's worse. The FBI knows it, and the FBI didn't even go after it. You're going to complain about Kash Patel? All right? The FBI knew what Joe Biden did and buried it. We need Kash Patel in there to blow that place up. There you go.
Okay. I think the other word for naive may be aspirational, in that you'd hope that America was better than this. And I think there's a couple things that are different. If you want to talk about grift, I mean, I guess we could go back to
change. Barack Obama.
I know. Hope's not a policy, but I think there is a desire to hope for our leaders, even if they fail, to be held to a higher standard. You want to go through the grift? Jared Kushner raising $2 billion from the Saudis, I don't think happens if his father-in-law was not Donald Trump. But we digress. I think the question is...
There's no crime there.
I didn't say there was.
You've got to delineate. No, I know, but you have to delineate as a journalist, all right, what affects the folks. So if Americans watching us tonight don't think that Washington, D.C. is corrupt, and always has been from the time of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, okay, it has never not been corrupt, because power does what it wants to do. And that's why you read Confronting the President, you see what Andrew Jackson did to the Native Americans. It's on and on and on and on. But what we, the people, have to demand is accountability. And that's fallen apart. When you have the FBI knowing that a vice president sold his office and do nothing about it, that's beyond any pale. The press knows it too.
I think. All right, Bill. It's not about the pardon. It's about what happens next. It's about what Donald Trump does next. It's about that the bar keeps getting lowered and lowered and lowered and lowered for the standards that our leaders live by. And it's Donald Trump. Hold on. It's Donald Trump who says that he has absolute immunity. He can do whatever he wants now as president. He is unrestrained. Take a listen.
Look, presidential immunity is imperative. It's going to be very, very important. As a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple. I was entitled as president of the United States and commander-in-chief to immunity.
Okay, so Donald Trump comes into office, and look, I said it, you said it, that this gives Republicans an enormous opening, right? Because now when anybody complains about Donald Trump, all Republicans have to say is Joe Biden pardoned Hunter, case closed in terms of what things are. You talk about the folks. I thought this was an important moment, pointed out by Axios. Crypto investor who paid $6.2 million for banana artwork ain't the banana. Quoted from the New York Times, they tracked down the fruit vendor who sold the artist the banana for 35 cents. When told of the sale, he cried, "I am a poor man. I have never had this kind of money. I have never seen this kind of money." The issue is what helps the folks, right, Bill? And arguing about all this stuff on Twitter and pardoning the January 6th folks and dealing with Kash Patel and the FBI, that doesn't go to solve any of the real problems of Americans.
You're out kicking your coverage, to use a football analogy. If Donald Trump does something untoward that hurts the folks, I will be the first one to report it. All right? Speculating about what he might do, what he could do, is ridiculous. Kash Patel is a good guy to have running the FBI. I hope that he picks as assistants, Mr. Patel is a very smart man, people who are within the FBI who have survived this horror and can advise him on how to run it day by day. But if you think that the Federal Bureau of Investigation would totally booted the Hillary Clinton national security on her personal phone, totally booted Russian collusion, totally ignored influence selling by the Vice President of the United States, if you think that this agency doesn't deserve to be blown sky high, then you're just simply wrong. So I want Patel in there. I want him to dismantle the corruption.
I'm glad you prefaced that with if, because I've never said that I don't think the FBI needs serious reform, because as you laid out, it is an agency that has sorely lost its way.
Well,
Bill,
now you got a guy who's going to do it.
Well, he says he can. Whether or not he does, speculation. Whether or not he has the ability to, speculation. We'll see. All right, save for, it's a great tease, what Trump said about the special. We're going to talk about the special next time you're on. Give folks some reason to think about the book as Christmas presents, all right? Good to see you, sir. One blue state attorney general finally found the real danger, and you're going to want to stick around for this. Because the real danger this shopping season is not what you're watching on your screen. We're going to tell you what the Attorney General of California says is the big issue to deal with when we come back. Gone are the days of worrying about shoplifting, migrant gangs, trafficking people across the border, fentanyl overdoses. It's all solved, evidently, because the California Attorney General, a guy named Rob Bonta, has figured out the real threat this holiday season. And he is very worried about a lack of gender-neutral toy sections in large stores, think Target and Walmart. We first heard about this story on social media from a post by Amy Reichert.
Holiday shoppers should spy on department stores and report any business that doesn't have a gender-neutral toy aisle. These businesses will face fines from the state of California of $250 to start and $500 for repeat offenders. California, you've gone even crazier since Trump got elected.
I saw that video on the plane home last night, and I thought it was a joke. But no, not a joke. It is real. In fact, we looked it up. The Attorney General holiday warning to consumers, laid down the law. If we do not see an adequate gender-neutral product section in a large retail department store in California that you believe is covered by this law, you may take pictures, document, and file a complaint with our office. Amy Reichert previously ran for the San Diego County Board of Supervisors and joins us now. Amy, thank you. Okay, so the law went into effect January 1. This is now the first Christmas season that it is in effect. The store you were in, was there a gender-neutral section?
It was just kind of like all these toys mashed up together. That's California's solution, apparently, to our problems.
Okay. Help me understand, why did this sort of become a thing for you, and why did you make the video?
Well, on November 26th, the Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, decided to release a holiday message warning consumers about possible scams, and also included a statement asking holiday shoppers to spy on department stores and send photographs and evidence to the state to report stores to the state government for not having a gender-neutral aisle. And I think that's ridiculous. And apparently so do thousands of people on social media, because my post has gone viral.
Yeah, no, it's gotten millions upon millions of views. Look, we want to be fair to the Attorney General. We asked him to come on the show. He declined to talk about this. Bill passed 49-16 in September of 2021. That every store in California that sells childcare items or toys and has more than 500 employees, so big box stores, must include a gender-neutral toy section. And Bonta sort of has a lot of feelings of things that he was willing to spend money on and go to the mat on that don't involve crime fighting as the Attorney General. Here he is on CNN earlier today.
I think he could crack down on gender-affirming care, so not providing access to gender-affirming care for the transgender community. We firmly believe here in California that gender-affirming care is health care. It's not hypothetical that this man in his presidency will break the law and need attorneys general like the Attorney General of the largest state in the nation, the fifth largest economy in the world, to hold him accountable in court when he does.
Right, so Rob Bonta will save America, or at least California, from Trump. You said in your video, and I thought it was pretty funny, that California has gone even crazier since Trump has gotten elected. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, Gavin Newsom, our governor, has vowed to Trump-proof California. And really, a lot of Californians are thinking, you know what? Maybe what we need to do is California-proof America. So America-proof California, because that's how we're feeling in California with these woke policies. They're banning plastic bags and fining businesses that are law-abiding for not having gender-neutral aisles. Meanwhile, it's perfectly fine for someone to smoke fentanyl in front of that store or steal up to $1,000 worth of merchandise. It's just an upside-down clown world here in California. Well,
I think that sort of sums up The View. Amy, thank you very much. Congratulations on pointing something out. You hit a nerve in America. I think you picked up on something. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you and yours if we don't talk before.
Thank you.
All right. Donald Trump says, and I'm quoting right now, there will be hell to pay if Hamas doesn't release the hostages in Gaza. He's speaking the language terrorists understand, why he might get the hostages out before he even takes office. To Mar-a-Lago, where Donald Trump says he knows how to get the hostages held by Hamas in Gaza home. Quote, everybody's talking about the hostages who are being held so violently, inhumanely, and against the will of the entire world in the Middle East. Against the will of the entire world, with the exception of American college campuses. But it is all talk and no action. If the hostages are not released prior to January 20th, 2025, there will be hell to pay in the Middle East. And for those in charge who perpetrated these atrocities against humanity, those responsibles will be hit harder than anybody has been hit in the long and storied history of the United States of America. Release the hostages now. Trump's words have special meaning, especially for the people who are responsible, meaning the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and the Ayatollah. This is the same president who ordered the killing of the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. A missile strike took out Qasem Soleimani as he drove through Baghdad to plan attacks on American troops. Back then, the usual foreign policy experts warned of regional war that would break out. Turns out, Iran understood that Trump changed the rules and went into its corner. With us now, Joel Rubin, Democratic strategist, former Deputy Assistant Secretary for State and Legislative Affairs. Good to see you, my friend.
You too, Leland.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Let's put politics aside. They stop at the water's edge. Is it nice to have an American leader speaking a language that the terrorists understand?
It's very helpful. It's exciting. I hope that he can follow through. I hope that President Biden is able to get the deals done sooner rather than later.
This helps him, though, no doubt, right?
Well, look, President-elect Trump, he wants the deals done. He's even said it. He wants a ceasefire. So, yes, it does help. It helps to have unity of voice in the American leadership across both parties. There is no wiggle room. And it's clear that it's an American priority to get the hostages out.
Yeah, but this is different, right? Joe Biden's been trying to do this for 422 days.
Yes.
There was just an American that was announced that we thought was held hostage. Turned out Omar Nuder, 21, who had been serving in the American military, had been killed on October 7th. Joe Biden's not been able to do it. Admiral James Stavridis, MSNBC analyst, hardly a Trump supporter, just said today that we're seeing signs that the Iranians are already pulling back and backing down because of Donald Trump.
Well, it may be because of Donald Trump. I think it's more because of the Israelis, quite frankly. The Israelis are punishing.
So because the Israelis have ignored Joe Biden, then now all of a sudden it's working out.
No, look, a couple of things. First of all, there was a negotiated deal back in late November that did get many hostages out. There has been a devastating series of attacks and assaults by Israel against Hezbollah, against Hamas, that the Biden team has supported. Remember that President Biden has been consistently backing
Joe Biden
Israel
kept
throughout
telling
this
Israel
conflict.
to hold back over and over and over again. You don't get to change the facts. But here's what's interesting. Okay,
only on a couple parts.
Not
the whole thing.
Here's what's interesting. Oh, yeah. Oh, great. Oh, we're only handcuffing you half
not
the
on
time.
Hezbollah.
But hold on. I want to get you on this because there's a little precedent of this, right? Okay, back in 1980, there were also the Iranians holding hostages, at the embassy in Tehran. Jimmy Carter, who they saw as feckless and weakless, which he was president. Ronald Reagan was coming to office. And before Ronald Reagan finished taking the oath of office, the hostages were out of Tehran because the Iranians recognize strength.
Look, if this is what gets it done, then that will be great. I don't know what the reason is in the minds of a terrorist to let hostages go. That's their own calculations.
What makes them want hostages to be let go is they fear keeping them will end in their death, meaning the terrorist death.
I don't think they have any doubt that Israel has been seeking to eliminate them, including Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, the leader of Hezbollah, Nasrallah, was killed, all congratulated by President Biden. All that said, I think it's a very good statement for President-elect Trump to make. I think it's
why isn't Joe Biden speaking like that?
He speaks very consistently about the hostages, but it's a different personality. Look, we're going to go through, you and I both know this, 4 years of incredibly intense, dynamic, diverse, sometimes crazy statements on Truth Social, Twitter, and all social platforms about foreign policy. I remember fire and fury. I remember that President Trump said fire and fury to North Korea, and then within months he was talking to Kim. So
I want to get you this on Joe Biden. This picture taken of him in Nantucket, this was going to be the big story until he pardoned Hunter Biden, walking out of a bookstore in Nantucket. The 100 Years' Wars on Palestine, Rashid Khalid, author of Palestinian Identity, a known anti-Semite, a known Hamas sympathizer and apologist, a known anti-Israel activist. If Donald Trump had walked out of a bookstore carrying Mein Kampf, it would be the lead story on every television network. By the way, as well it should be.
As well it should be.
And there is not a Democrat who cares about this. Why?
Right. Well, I think Rashid Khalid's book should be ignored. And I don't understand why the president had it. I don't know how he got it. I haven't called him up and asked him that, but I do think that when you look at the record, you will see Joe Biden has consistently supported Israel throughout. There will be complaints about holding back certain bonds.
I want to get you on this though, but in terms of change, in terms of policy, Donald Trump's tweets have gotten results. Trump Truth Social on Mexico just had a wonderful conversation with the new president of Mexico. She's agreed to stop migration through Mexico into the United States, effectively closing our southern border.
Well, she disputed that.
It was a pretty productive conversation, she did dispute it, but Justin Trudeau flew down to Mar-a-Lago and has said the tariffs would cripple Canada's economy. I'm willing to work with Donald Trump. We're seeing a change in how the world views America, I think, for the better. Would you agree?
Well, what we're seeing are reactions to the new incoming president, as there always should be. And we're going to see some positive change, I hope, but we're also going to see some downside risk. Look, tariffs are going to hurt the American people as well.
Not if he doesn't have to put them in.
They're imposed. But Claudia Sheinbaum and Mexico has been engaging in a program over the past year to reduce the flow of migrants into the United States. And that now Donald Trump can't take credit for what's been done on Joe Biden's watch. All that said, I think these kinds of arguments that he's putting forward are helpful if they get results. We'll see if they get results.
Good to see you, my friend.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you very much. You get to sit here while I read this. We first wrote about Trump's foreign policy in War Notes. That's our daily newsletter. Comes out every day at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Joel subscribes, as a matter of fact. And you can, too. Warnotes.com for free. You can email us or comment at Leland Vittert, Instagram and Twitter. We read everyone. Candace writes to us on Twitter. Your show is always worthwhile. Candace, thank you for your time and your trust. That's our responsibility now that you give it to us. So thank you for spending your time with us. Tell your friends. Harry writes to War Notes. NewsNation just keeps getting better and better. Harry, we agree. You had recommended Landman. It's a show on Paramount to viewers a few days ago. I've streamed the first two shows and really enjoyed them. Two things. The show is definitely not woke, big time. And I hope you didn't recommend it to your mother. Harry, good advice. Thank you. I was ahead of you on that one. That said, Rachel and I haven't watched the fourth episode. We will tonight. See what happens. Cindy writes to War Notes. As always, your War Notes are spot on. Cindy, thank you. War Notes is a great Christmas gift, and it's free. Go to warnotes.com, sign your friends up. You will then always have things to talk to your friends about. And after you sign them up, you will wait for them to thank you for making their lives better. Newport Beach Dasher writes to us on Twitter. At Leland Vittert, I'll pay $20 for an avocado if Americans stop dying from drugs and if children stop being trafficked over the border. It's a great point, Dasher. I think we all understand why Trump's tariffs on Mexico and China are popular, or the threat of tariffs, I should say. That said, he did get the Mexican president to cave and promise changes, got Justin Trudeau to promise big changes, all without $20 avocados, which we can all agree is preferable. The man charged with manslaughter for protecting New York subway riders will soon learn his fate. The lynch mob outside the court doesn't seem interested, though, in the justice system.
Guilty! 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 Guilty!
Why this case isn't getting the coverage it deserves. Trial. The jury will likely get the case tomorrow. You may remember Daniel Penny. The New York prosecutor charged him with manslaughter. Penny became a hero to many law-abiding folks for restraining a fellow subway rider. Jordan Neely was threatening passengers, screaming erratically about going to jail and hurting people in the train car. Daniel Penny restrained him. Neely died. Today in court, the assistant district attorney argued Penny used too much force. We are here today because the defendant used way too much force for way too long in a way too reckless manner. We cannot as a society tolerate an unjust and untimely death of a fellow citizen. We are here today not to judge police protection of the subway. Daniel Penny was greeted with chants of guilty this morning from protesters outside the courthouse. A small group of protesters, we should point out. With us now, New York City criminal defense lawyer Michael Tasharo. Michael, it's good to see you. As always, I want to go back to that line. We are here today not to judge police protection of the subway, but doesn't someone's state of mind on the subway, whether or not you think the police are coming to save you, and whether or not criminals who commit violent crimes are allowed to roam the subway, doesn't that sort of go to the state of mind of anybody on the subway who may be in reasonable fear of their life?
Absolutely. The subway is a witness in this case. The subway, this is one of the only cases where the jurors get to do a field test every day. Every day, the jurors get on the subway, and I've been saying this since this case started, and they get to experience the subway. And it's rare that I take a subway ride now that I don't see someone that's disturbed. Not often violent, but disturbed. And in this case, the people's identity and people's fear or concerns of the subway are going to play into that jury room. And I think they're going to, it's really difficult to overcome those types of real things that you feel because it's not abstract. These people get on the subway every day.
Right. And people are scared every day. It's interesting because in this trial, they have played the body camera footage of the police interviewing the witnesses in real time. These were people who were on the subway. Jordan Neely walks in, starts threatening people. Daniel Penny, Marine, jumps in, puts him in a chokehold and restrains him. Here is some of the body camera footage. Take a look.
You know, because when he came in, he was unbelievably off the charts. He scared the living daylights out of everyone.
So that's talking about Jordan Neely, the alleged victim in this case. At some point, I'm confused by this. We show him smiling there. There was other sides, clearly, to Jordan Neely. I'm confused by this because if everybody on that train is scared, and Daniel Penny was scared for people's lives, understandably, why is this not an open and shut self-defense case?
Well, the problem is a jury has to decide that. The case was presented to the grand jury. The grand jury chose to indict. Not everybody on the subway was scared. So I've heard some witnesses that were not that scared. But this really goes to the mental state, as you said, of the witnesses. Some people are so numb to the subway violence that nothing really gets to them. The reality is going to be, were his actions reasonable? And he gave a full video confession, which I think he did very well. It was reasonable what he did based on that confession. And the key part about, I don't want to call it a confession, a statement. The key part of that was when he said, I didn't intend to hurt this guy. I just wanted to stop him. And that is what the defense is going to key on, plus the medical testimony that the defense brought out.
So this was the defense medical examiner. Neely's death caused by combined effects of restraint and struggle, schizophrenia, sickle cell crisis, and K2 synthetic drugs. So it wasn't the quote unquote the alleged chokehold that killed him.
Right. And that may be the jury's out, and that may be the fodder that the jurors that are seeking to acquit him are going to use. I was also reminded today, and this is a little inside baseball, there's a lot more acquittals around Christmas time. One of my colleagues reminded me of that. That is true when I think about it. Jurors tend to be more sympathetic, but this is a classic Bernie Getz case for your fans that don't know or too young to remember. It is, how do you feel on the subway, and is this act reasonable? That's all that it's going to come down to. I don't see 12 people going either way. I really don't see it.
That's fascinating. You've had an unbelievable insight, and I say this every time you come on, into the New York court system and how things play out. Does the national political climate and the backlash now that's happening against sort of this free-for-all by criminals play into this at all?
I think to the jurors that were predisposed to it, it reinforces their thoughts and reinforces their ideas. Look, once somebody's in a jury room and he gets to a not guilty or guilty and he's not moving, you're not moving him. It's going to be a hung jury. So to those people who were predisposed to think like that, they're going to stand on their merits, and they have a lot to talk about. The defense lawyer in this case is excellent. I know him. The prosecutor is also very good, but the facts and Penny's testimony when he gave the statement really help him. It's a case that's made for reasonable doubt, I think.
Yeah. You never want to guess what a jury is going to do, but this, I think to so many, the facts seem just so overtly clear in terms of who the victim is here, and it's not Jordan Neely. Michael DeSharo, thank you very much. Great insight. Have you back throughout the week as the case goes to the jury. College football's most bitter rivalry has ended in an all-out brawl. Cops used pepper spray to break it up, but the players involved have walked away scot-free. Why there are no rules anymore in college sports.
Field, and the Buckeyes rushed right to him. And now there's some skirmishes going on the field.
In the middle of the field with fans on the field, this is not a pretty scene. This is not good. This is scary.
Devontae Smith is continuing to go at it. And then Malachi Moore over there trying to get his player out of there.
And Florida plants the flag. We've seen this cause chaos around college football.
That should tell you everything you need to know about the state of college sports. There are no rules. Michigan won against Ohio State this weekend. At the end of the game, Michigan players decided beating the Buckeyes wasn't enough. A group of them walked up to midfield to plant the Michigan flag into the Ohio State logo. Understandably, that didn't go well with Ohio State players who started a massive bench-clearing fight. Forget the coaches, they didn't do much. The police tried to break it up. In the end, they had to start pepper spraying both teams to separate them. With us now, Stephanie Odie, Ohio State football reporter for 97.1 The Fan, and was there on the sidelines when it happened, got hit with pepper spray. I've gotten hit with pepper spray, was in riots. It wasn't at football games, so I'm glad you're okay. Help us understand, was there any attempt by the coaches to tell their players to separate? And has there been any punishment by the coaches of the players who didn't?
Well, it was chaotic, and thank you for having me on, but I saw videos in the aftermath. I was blinded from the mace for a little bit, but I saw a video of Ryan Day just kind of sitting on the back burner watching it all. And in the post game, he did comment on it, saying that they tried to disrespect them and on their field. They weren't going to let that happen. And then we saw Sharon Moore. He was waving and taunting a bit before the brawl broke out. But planting the flag, yeah, that's going to cause some ruckus. So I didn't expect the pepper spray to come out, but definitely the chaos to erupt after that. Yes, that would happen.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at, though, is there was a time, right, when college coaches controlled their players, and if players didn't behave in a sportsmanlike manner, they were benched. But I haven't heard of that happening in this case or any of these fights. It seems as though playing and winning bowl games is way more important than anything as mundane as sportsmanlike behavior, right?
Yeah, when you look at it conference by conference, I mean, it was spread out throughout all of college football. Each conference now in this 12-game playoff is awarded millions for getting into the playoff. Ohio State will be one of those playoff teams, but they get even more, $4 million to get into the 12-game playoff, $6 million if they advance to semis and to the national championship. So, yeah, there's going to be repercussions to think about. Obviously, Ohio State doesn't want to see any of their players sit for those crucial games, but you see some coaches commenting on it. I know that Dabo Sweeney said something as well, but Also, Sarkisian in Texas, he watched the brawl in his hotel room that happened with Ohio State and Michigan. Texas did plant the flag on Michigan earlier this season, and he was not going to let that happen. So some coaches we've seen take action, but, there's others where I know Ryan Day is intensely emotionally invested in. I think he sided with his team on this one.
It's pretty stunning, just in terms of a life lesson. You're not the only one to point out the Ohio State coach sort of sitting back. This was from Morning in America earlier. Take a listen.
When people are getting beat and they don't know how to control their emotions or learn to lose, and I put a lot of this on the head coaches. The head coaches should have more control of their teams and be able to get through. But Ryan Day was sitting there looking at his players act and behave that way.
Yeah, I guess the question is, what example do you set for these young men? And at some point, you point out the money, right? University of Michigan Athletic Department revenue, $230 million. OSU, almost $80 million. They were fined, I think, $100,000 each team was for this. Have you heard any talk of criminal charges? There were police who got hurt. You were caught up in this scrum. Other people got hurt who weren't players.
Well, the OSU Police Department did put out a statement saying that they're going to investigate it. There was multiple different law enforcement agencies that were there. So that's something that they're looking into. I have not heard any update. I did reach out to see if specific players will be penalized. We know that some were more involved than others. But ultimately, I think that if you're going to get into a brawl like that, when you have playoffs, you are running your own risk of getting injured. So that's something that you're running the risk of yourself. But Coach Day, his comments on it were he didn't know what happened. He'll look into it. But it did seem like he wanted to side with his team. And we heard that from the players. They wanted to be a united front. So that's what we heard from them.
United in behaving horribly and excusing it. Stephanie, thank you very much. And we're glad you're okay. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Yeah, you as well. Ohio State's got a big season coming up, or at least the rest of the season. Chris Cuomo's got a big show coming up here at the top of the hour. I'll see you tomorrow night.